Hello everybody, my name is Kara and today I'm here with a winter and Christmas book haul. I'm going to start with a few that I purchased myself and then we're going to move into the gifts that I so kindly got from friends and family. So I have mostly books here and then a couple of kind of bookish items or accessories, and then at the very end I'm going to show you guys something that is not book related in the slightest, but I really like it and I think it's hilarious and it's a present from my dad and I just wanted to show you guys. Also, I think some of these I actually acquired at the end of fall, so this is not quite a winter and Christmas book haul, but that's what I'm going to call it. So one of the books I bought was The Language of Fire by Stephanie Hempel, Joan of Arc reimagined. This is a novel in verse, which you guys know is something I really enjoy, and it's about Joan of Arc, who is one of my favorite historical figures. I really enjoyed learning about her. I actually read another novel in verse called Voices by David Elliott, I think, that was earlier this year, and I really enjoyed it despite hearing kind of mixed things about it. So I'm really looking forward to this one. It's quite a chunky book, so I'm kind of excited about that. I feel like that's going to give the author a lot of opportunity to really explore Joan of Arc as a person and as a character, and I am really looking forward to it. And I also picked up The Clergyman's Wife by Molly Greeley. This is sort of a continuation of Pride and Prejudice, but it specifically focuses on the character of Charlotte Lucas. I obviously love Pride and Prejudice, but despite understanding on an intellectual level why Charlotte Lucas made the choices she did, I have never been able to accept them. Like, it's unimaginable to me. Like, even knowing her circumstances and the limited choices she had at the time, I just could never have brought myself to do what she did. So I think that's always kept me from appreciating Charlotte as a character, and I was hoping that if I read this book, which really focuses on Charlotte after the events of Pride and Prejudice and sort of her living with the decisions she made, I was hoping that would give me a greater understanding and appreciation for her character. And you'll actually see me talk about this in my December wrap-up because I read it this last month and it worked. That is exactly the experience I had with it. I really loved it. Obviously this is not a review, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but look forward to that. I also picked up The Complete Father Brown Stories by G.K. Chesterton. This is the Wordsworth Classics edition, and I had a hard time finding information on what the best edition was, but it seems like that was the consensus, that this one is the most complete. So it has all of the Father Brown mysteries, or at least most of the ones that have been published. I have really enjoyed the nonfiction I've read from Chesterton, but I haven't read any of his fiction yet. My friend Olivia from Olivia's Catastrophe has spoken very highly of his mysteries. She reads a lot of kind of classic mysteries, so I really trust her opinion on that, and I haven't read any classic mysteries, I don't think, but I'm excited to get to his. I also pre-ordered the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. At the time of filming this, I still have not read this book. I just want to be in exactly the right mood for it because I have loved the series so far. Like, there are problems with it, and I acknowledge that, and I understand why it's not for everyone, but I have loved it so far. So I really want to give myself every opportunity to love this last book, especially since I have heard not universally positive reviews, so please don't spoil me about this book if you guys have read it. I feel like a lot of people have read it by now, but I'm saving this. And this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition that comes with letters from Carden, according to the sticker, which was one of the reasons I wanted to get this edition. Next, I have another pre-order that came in, and that is Holy Troublemakers and Unconventional Saints by Deneen Akers, or Akers. I think this was originally a Kickstarter, maybe? And then it, of course, got fully funded, and then after that you could just pre-order or order the book like normal. And the author talks about like the reason she wrote this book, and it's basically because she wanted to show people, and young kids especially, that being a religious or spiritual person means that sometimes you have to break rules, that you have to go against what people tell you and what the generally accepted way of thought is. Like, sometimes that means making trouble. And I just think that is so important, and I just love that whole idea. I have actually started reading some of these and I'm really enjoying it so far. There's a huge variety of modern and older figures that they talk about from a wide range of religions and denominations, and I just think the whole concept and execution of this book is fantastic. And there's a lot of different featured artists, and some of the art is absolutely stunning. That was a picture of Rumi, so I'm really enjoying this so far. I'll actually link the website where you can order this. I don't think it's available at other booksellers yet, but I will link the official website for the book in case you are interested. I also ended up buying a few presents for people from Etsy, and while I was on Etsy I ended up getting something for myself, as you do, and that is a themed bookmark from Heartless by Marissa Meyer. So this is the art you can see of Catherine and the design on the back, if I can show you without it being all shiny. I really loved that book when I read it this year, and I just thought this was a stunning bookmark. I really loved the art, so you can never have too many bookmarks, right? Especially when you leave them places and you can't remember where they are. And then the last book that I purchased that I'm going to show you is Harlequin's Riddle by Rachel Nightingale, and this is the first book in the Tales of Taria series. This is an Italian-inspired fantasy series, which is something I really enjoy reading, and specifically what drew me to this series is that I believe The concept and the story is based on commedia dell'arte, which is a very specific form of performance that was very popular in Italy like several centuries ago. And we actually did some work with that in one of my acting classes that I really enjoyed. It's like a very interesting, like the stock characters that they use and the way that the plays are structured is just fascinating to me. And I love the idea of a series that is built around that is like inspired by that. So really looking forward to this one. Okay, so now moving into the books that I was so kindly gifted by people. I'm actually going to start out with the couple that I got in the fall. And the first one is Archenemies by Marissa Meyer. This was actually one from a giveaway that was hosted by Margaret from The Word Nerd. By the way, as with all of my videos, I will of course link all of the people that I talk about in the description box. But this was as part of her Vaultathon, and I won the giveaway for Archenemies, which is book 2 in the Renegade series. And I actually recently found a copy of the first book for very cheap, so I'm going to be getting to this hopefully very soon. And then I also got gifted The Lost Queen by Signe Pike from my lovely friend Huck from Badger Reads. This is a book that she really loved, and especially after she did her whole review on it, I was just very intrigued by, so I'm so excited to have this one. And this one feels like a very cold weather kind of book. It's a Celtic inspired historical fantasy, and I think it follows the sister of Merlin, I think. Which just sounds so interesting to me. And yeah, I definitely want to try and get to this one within the next couple of months because I feel like this is one that will be perfect for winter. My friend Julia from Shakespeare and Such gave me Bygone Badass Broads, 52 Forgotten Women Who Changed the World by Mackenzie Lee. I saw this book around BookTube quite a bit when it came out, and I love this whole trend about like nonfiction about forgotten women from history and finally like giving them their due and with beautiful artwork and everything. I really need to come up with a shorthand for that kind of subgenre because I love it, but I never know how to describe it. But here's an example of some of the art, and I'm so excited to get to this. This is one I've been really wanting to get to for a while, and I can't wait. And it also looks like from the flip through that I did, it looks like there's a really good variety of women from different countries and backgrounds. Next, from my friend Kelly from Cozy Reader Kelly, I got Lavinia by Ursula K. Le Guin. I have never actually read an Ursula K. Le Guin novel, but I've really wanted to for a long time. She's of course a very famous figure in SFF, like classic SFF. And like I said, I've never read anything from her. And this is a kind of historical retelling of the story of Lavinia from Roman history or legend or mythology. And I think this is going to be like centering her in the story. So I'm really intrigued by the idea of giving her voice back to her. I'm hoping that this is going to be what I wanted Silence of the Girls to be by Pat Barker. And I am just really looking forward to this. I think I'm going to really enjoy it. I read like the first page or so, and I really love the writing style, so I have high hopes. My friend Shelby from Read and Find Out gave me Snow and Rose by Emily Winfield Martin. This is a stunningly illustrated book that is very fairy tale inspired, and I think it has really strong elements of sister relationships, which is something that I really love in fiction, just like sibling relationships in general. I really love. And I can't wait to get to this one. Let me find an illustrated page like that. And then my friend Katie from A Sea of Tomes sent me 2 books, and the first one is Journey Across the Hidden Islands by Sarah Beth Durst. Sarah Beth Durst is one of my favorite authors, and I just think she has such a wide variety of genres and kinds of stories that she writes. Like, I'm always so impressed by how creative her books are. And I believe this one is another one with a strong sibling relationship. And I believe it's about 2 sisters who take a journey, like they go on some kind of quest. I don't know too much about synopses usually when I start reading books, so that probably makes this less helpful than it could be, but I am so looking forward to this. And Katie also gave me The Tea Dragon Festival by Katie O'Neill. This is the sequel to The Tea Dragon Society, which is a beautiful, heartwarming graphic novel that I absolutely loved, and I can't wait to get to this one. I want a tea dragon of my very own. So reading these graphic novels is, I think, the closest I can get to that, but I can't wait for this. And then my friend Yvette from Book Cave sent me a package, and in it there was this beautiful Bookmas card, and she also gave me these beautiful rainbow like sticky tabs to take notes in. I might actually use these for our Austen Anonymous reread. And then speaking of Jane Austen, she also included a really cool pin featuring Jane Austen's face. Let's see if I can show you that. I'm not sure if it's showing up, but hopefully you can kind of see it. And I love that. And then she also sent me Violence and Virtue, Artemisia Gentilisci's Judith slaying Holofernes. So this is like an in-depth booklet that is like an exploration of the famous painting by Artemisia Gentilisci, who I think everybody on this channel knows now that I am a little bit obsessed with her. I am so excited to read this and to add it to my Artemisia shelf. I can't wait for this, and it looks like it's going to be really in-depth about the structure of that painting and what it means and how Artemisia used that to work through her sexual assault and everything. So thank you so much to all of my lovely BookTube friends who sent me things. It was such a wonderful surprise. I obviously do not expect people to send me things. I am so excited to get to these books, and I'm also now going to show you guys the things that I got from my family. So I'm going to start off with a couple of used books, because in my family we are big appreciators of used books in addition to new bookstores, and my sister actually gave me a couple that she thought I would enjoy. The first one is English Fairy Tales, illustrated by Arthur Rackham, and I think I've mentioned this before, but Arthur Rackham is one of my favorite illustrators I've ever come across. He did a lot of illustrations for fairy tales, and I just really love his style. I don't know if you guys can see from that cover, but it's like this it's like a very distinctive kind of style, and I absolutely love it. And you guys know I love fairy tales. And I don't think I've actually read a lot of specifically like English fairy tales, like from that region in particular, so I'm very much looking forward to this. And then she also got me The Bold Dragoon and Other Ghostly Tales by Washington Irving. My sister and I actually talked about The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is I think Irving's most well-known piece, and so she thought I might be interested in reading some of his other stuff, and I don't think I've ever heard of any of these stories, which is really exciting for me, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Next, I have some books for my parents. I think my mom is the one who picked most of these out. And the first one is A Little Bit Wicked by Kristen Chenoweth. So this is kind of her memoir or autobiography, I guess. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a huge fan of Kristen Chenoweth. I just think she seems like a really cool, down-to-earth, like very kind person. And I just think she's one of those actors who is incredibly talented, but because she tends to play more fun and upbeat roles, people kind of write her off as being like a serious talent. And I just think she is very skilled. Like, I think her acting is excellent. Her singing is obviously really good. She was the original Glinda in Wicked. I just think this is going to be really funny and engaging, and I can't wait to read it. Next, I have In Defense of Sanity, The Best Essays of G.K. Chesterton, selected by Dale Alquist, Joseph Pierce, and Aidan Mackey. You guys might remember I showed another G.K. Chesterton book earlier in this haul. And this is a collection of obviously some of his best essays, or what people consider to be his best essays. And I have actually read some other, like another essay collection of his. So I'm really looking forward to getting to more of his work, especially what people consider the best of his work. He's just one of the cleverest writers I think I've ever come across. And the thing that I find so impressive about him is his writing is so rich and layered and complex, but you never feel overwhelmed by it. Like, you don't feel like he's purposefully trying to confuse you to try and sound smarter, which is something I think sometimes writers do. So I just really like his style, and I can't wait to read some more from him. Next, I have A Civil Contract by Georgette Heyer. This is actually a book I talked about recently in my books on my Goodreads TBR The Longest. I will link that video down below if you haven't seen it yet. But I have a really good feeling about this one. Georgette Heyer so far has been an author that I always enjoy the experience of reading her books, but the books aren't always favorites from her. Cotillion is the glowing exception, because that is one of my favorite books I've ever read. And so far it's just been really hard to come close to that. This one I feel more confident about because it's also kind of a one-off, and like the general feeling of her novels, I think this one is very different, and that's kind of how Cotillion is too. So I'm wondering if this is also going to work for me like Cotillion did, because it is so different from her normal stuff. And I talked a little bit more about the summary in that other video, so I won't go into it too much here, but I think this is just going to be a really interesting examination of a marriage of convenience that doesn't necessarily turn into a love match, but it does get better. I just think this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for character exploration, which obviously I'm a very character-driven reader, so that sounds wonderful to me. Next, I have The Quest for Shakespeare by Joseph Pierce. Probably don't need to explain this one that much because you guys know I love Shakespeare. And I think what this book is about is a historical, like textual analysis of what, if anything, we know about Shakespeare's religious or personal beliefs. Because in case you guys aren't familiar with like general Shakespeare scholarship trends, considering how famous and important he is, there are certain parts of his life we actually have very little concrete evidence about. And so things like his personal or religious beliefs is something that is a matter of great disagreement among scholars and fans and experts of all kinds. So I am just really interested to see what this author's take on that is. Like, it'll be really interesting to see how you go about collecting evidence for somebody who lived hundreds of years ago, for something that was a very, like, obviously a very personal thing, and especially in a time where England was not super tolerant of anybody who wasn't Anglican. So I think this is going to be really fascinating. I also got a book called The Magical Unicorn Society Official Handbook. My mom and my sister actually picked this out together, and they said they just came across it and it made them think of me, because the art is something that they know I like this kind of bright style, like kind of like a fairy tale book almost, and they know I like fantasy and fairy tales and things like that, so I'm very interested to read this. So yeah, I can't wait to get to this. So I just think this is going to be a really cute, quick read when I want something heartwarming, and sometimes you need those books. Like, you need to stockpile those for your time of need. And then I also got a box set of the Roman Mysteries series, or the first 6 books in the series by Caroline Lawrence, and I'm actually currently reading book 2, which is The Secrets of Vesuvius. This one comes with The Thieves of Ostia, The Secrets of Vesuvius, which I just showed you guys, The Pirates of Pompeii, The Assassins of Rome, The Dolphins of Laurentum, and The 12 Tasks of Flavia Gemina. And this is a middle grade historical fiction mystery series set in ancient Rome, and I've read the first book before and really enjoyed it. So I'm really excited to have the first 6 books. As I said, I'm actually currently reading book 2 and really enjoying it. The final book I'm going to talk about today is from my brother, and that is Bad Girls Throughout History, 100 Remarkable Women Who Changed the World by Anne Shen. I've read another book by Anne Shen that I really enjoyed, and again, this is one of those nonfiction feminist subgenre books that I really love. And as you can probably see from the cover, Anne Shen's illustration style is just beautiful. I'm so excited to add this to my collection of feminist nonfiction books. And I think this is also going to be one that's a really good balance of historical figures and more modern figures. Okay, so the last couple of things are just some bookish or fandom items, and one of them is actually from my dad. He got me a bookish candle that is supposed to smell like old books, and the scent notes or the description is leather book bindings, aged paper, and intrigue. And I think, like, if I smell it, it does sort of remind me of old books in a way. Like a little bit like leather. It also smells a little like pine-ish. Like if you like those kind of sharp and clean scents, I think you might really enjoy this one. It's a little gnarly looking because I have already burnt some of it, but I really like that. And I was really surprised by this because for some reason I think of bookish candles as something that only book bloggers know about, but obviously that's not true. So my dad got me that. And then also from my parents, I think this is another one that my mom picked out. I just realized it still has the tag on it because I haven't worn it yet. But I got a Ravenclaw cardigan, and I am so excited about this. It's also like super soft and warm feeling, so this is going to be great. I am really excited about it. I've wanted a Ravenclaw cardigan for quite a while now. And I'm very happy I finally have one. Also, I completely forgot to mention that I got this t-shirt for Christmas, which is also bookish, and I'm actually wearing, and I forgot to mention it. And it says "The Trees Speak Latin," which is a quotation from the Raven Boys series by Maggie Stiefvater, which is a series I really love. And I think also just looks like a really cool shirt. Like I think even if you don't know what the reference is, I feel like it just looks like a cool t-shirt. Then the last bonus gift has absolutely nothing to do with books, but I just think it's really funny, and I want to show you guys. And this one is my other big present from my dad. And that is some like artisanally made balsamic vinegar that comes in its own little like designed box that you keep it in, and it's like tucked inside like you just put a baby to bed or something. Because I am actually a huge fan of balsamic vinegar. I will put it on just about any food I can get away with. I just think it's so good. And I think it's also good for you. Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, one year for my birthday, my dad gave me this like really nice like raspberry balsamic vinegar. And then this year for Christmas, he gave me this one. So I guess this is just going to be our tradition now because both of us love balsamic vinegar, so he knows what I'll like. And this is one of the like fancy kind. It's like this is handmade in Italy and then like imported. So this is like the classy balsamic vinegar. Okay, everybody, so that is my kind of collective haul from the last few months. Thank you again to everybody who sent me things, and thank you to all of you for just being like such a wonderful supporter of this channel. Like I always love our conversations, and thank you guys so much for 1,000 subscribers. I don't know when this video is going up, so maybe I've already mentioned that in a video, but I know people always say, oh, I never thought it would happen, but I was honestly shocked when it happened to me. So thank you guys so much. It really means a lot just knowing that so many people care about what I say about books. Like that's still pretty amazing to me. So let me know if you guys have read any of the books that I talked about, what you thought of them, and let me know a book that you acquired recently that you are very excited for, whether that is a gift or one you bought yourself or one you got from the library. I want to know what you're excited about reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!